from Fox News. San Francisco residents open up about Governor Newsom's order to clear homeless encampments. Now, obviously, he should have done this a long time ago. They never should have let it get this bad. But there was a story recently from KTVU Fox 2 News, I believe, that said, well, this doesn't really have anything to do with the presidential election. It's like, yeah, right. Why didn't you do this years ago? Why did you let it get this bad? And why are you cleaning up now? You want to pretend that you can make a difference with a stroke of a pen? Same thing out in Oakland. Mayor Shang Tao is cleaning up amid her FBI search, which we will probably never hear too much more about, but she's repaving the roads, pretending it has nothing to do with the presidential election and absolutely nothing to do with a hugely viral story from like May or June, in which a contractor left a neighborhood in Oakland where they were repaving because an Oakland thug pointed a gun at them.
Oakland Public Works confirmed to KTVU that 2 separate safety incidents involving workers on this project forced the contractor to pull out in May. One worker, who told a driver to move his car for paving purposes, had a gun pulled on him. Another was hit by a car.
But that's a different story. My name's Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm absolutely begging you.
I'm begging you, please. Come on, please.
It would help me a lot and cost you nothing. But if you wanted to help me even more and spend some money, you would buy my book, New York City 2020, Gotham Unglued, on Amazon.com. That link will be in the description.
And today, California Governor Gavin Newsom had a sudden revelation. After 5.5 years in office, homelessness in the state is out of control. Well, it's so out of control, and he said it seemingly out of nowhere. He actually issued an executive order telling state agencies to begin clearing the extensive...
Yeah, and I made a whole video about this. Be sure to go ahead and check it out. But they love these executive orders because with a stroke of a pen, they can override things that people don't like or pretend that he is standing up and he is going to fix everything. But it does beg the question, why now? Scumbag, greaseball, bang your wife, Governor Gavin.
Homeless encampments on state property and ask cities to do the same in their jurisdictions. Now, some claim Newsom is acting now due to a recent Supreme Court decision allowing local governments to crack down on homeless encampments, but the timing doesn't seem, well, it doesn't, I guess in some ways, seems pretty rich, you know, considering we're so close to the November elections. Anyway, our own Sarah Carter spent the day in San Francisco asking locals for their reaction to the news. Here's what they had to say.
Governor Newsom's executive order to clean up the state now. So he just signed an executive order.
Now, I'd be willing to bet that none of these people on the street in San Francisco have ever even heard of this executive order, and the powers that be are banking on that.
Order was based on a Supreme Court decision in June to get the state cleaned up. That means homeless encampments on the street, people out living. So
yeah, as you can see, the Fox News reporter is explaining everything to her, and she has no idea. She's going to nod her head. Let's hear what she has to say, though.
How do you feel about that now that he's...
I feel like it's appropriate. The city definitely needs the help.
I'm conflicted because I know the Supreme Court had the decision which allows him to do this. I do see the areas in San Francisco which I really do need to be cleaned up, but then I think the other half of the equation is where do people go, what kind of services are there, and
can it be afforded?
Yeah.
Do you think it's more of a political issue now that it's an election year? I mean, some people said they would have rather seen this.
100%.
100% political.
That certainly is political. I mean, sometimes it's incentives.
Well, yeah, it is. Obviously, it's politically motivated. I mean, he is a politician, but this is about the election. This is about cleaning up for Kamala. This is about positioning himself for a spot in that cabinet. And I mean, they're so scummy, it's ridiculous. And it's very similar with the handful of blocks in downtown San Francisco near the Moscone Center in the South of Market that he quote unquote cleaned up. He didn't really clean it up. He just put a fence up and pushed the homeless people out. But it has become a destination for junkies. We've seen it. We could roll the clips of a guy saying, well, hey, you know, I get paid to do drugs here.
If you're going to be homeless, it's pretty fucking easy here. I mean, if we're going to be realistic, they pay you to be homeless here.
When you said that San Francisco pays people to be homeless, what did you mean by that? Did you mean that literally?
Yeah. I mean, I get $620 a month, dude.
From general assistance,
yeah.
Or how was that hard to get?
Fucking phone call, bro.
Wow.
Fucking phone call. 200 food stamps and $620 cash a month.
Wow.
Forget about it. Why wouldn't I do it? You know, it's fucking free money, dude. This right now is literally by choice. Literally by choice. Like,
right? If the people who are in power are incentivized to act only when it's a political year, then sometimes that's the way it is.
Do you feel like leadership in California, particularly with the Governor Newsom, do you think that they should have been thinking about this much longer? I mean, much before 2024 and the November elections?
Yeah, well, but it took actually the Supreme Court to make the change. And so
Yep, and they love that. They're going to blame the Supreme Court. Well, we couldn't do anything because the Supreme Court said we couldn't, even though, do you really think for one split second that a junkie sleeping in a tent under the Bay Bridge was gonna file a lawsuit with some weirdo NGO and take it all the way up to the Supreme Court? No, it's just an excuse. Oh, the Supreme Court said we couldn't clean up the city, so I guess we can't.
maybe that impacted it also.
Yeah, is that mind-boggling to you? Yeah, like, why wouldn't you want your state to be clean?
Exactly.
All right, joining us now from San Francisco, our own Sarah Carter. What's next? They're going to get rid of sanctuary state status with free health care and education for illegal immigrants. Is that next?
I don't know if that's next, Sean, but this executive order basically directed state agencies and the local government to identify those most dangerous encampments, many of the ones which you and I reported on in the past, both here in San Francisco, Oakland, and in Los Angeles. Once they identify those encampments, they're giving people only 2 days to get out of them. And residents are saying, wait, how much money is this going to cost? Where are you going to put these people? Are they going to end up back on the streets? It's going to take a lot longer than a few months before an election. And this about face is another thing that they've been questioning. It's going to take a lot more than a few months to get everything cleaned up in the state of California. In fact, they're saying it looks more like years. And honestly, I think a lot of residents will believe it when they see it. Back to you, Sean.
Yeah. All right, Sarah Carter.
Yeah, so it's pretty despicable. Obviously, scumbag, greaseball, bang your wife, Governor Gavin Newsom is only going to be in it for himself when he benefits from the homelessness and gets to ask for more money and pretend he's going to put up a safe injection site in a hotel and can, skim a whole bunch of money off the top and then throw some pennies down to the junkies. That benefits him, so he's going to do it. But now when Kamalto is running for president and it benefits him to clean up and pretend he's in charge and maybe get a nod as vice president or maybe get a position in the cabinet and help her gain presidency because it's clear that she's from California and it's all collapsing, when it benefits him to clean this up, he does that. Same thing with the dictator of China or whatever.
Folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true.
And here's one more from Fox Business this time. Great liberal savior. Representative Ben Klein says Gavin Newsom is always maneuvering himself in position to become, something. He's going to fail up the ladder, which he has done for many years now. But that's just what I said. When it benefits him to have homelessness festering on the street, he's going to do that. When it benefits him to clean up, he's going to do that.
And that's why we established this framework, what we call a 10-year plan.
I absolutely love this clip. In almost every video I do about Gavin Newsom, we use this clip. I use this clip because we should just never forget that in 2008, he said he had a 10-year plan, which obviously came and went. And it's kind of like with San Francisco Mayor London Breed, we always have to mention that she paid nearly $23,000 in ethics violations fines because you just can't. They try to memory hold this stuff constantly, just like what the borders are. You're seeing with Kamalto right now. Now, obviously, there was no official position as borders are, but the media was literally reporting that. We can roll the tape.
Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People gonna have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. She was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
And to end chronic homelessness in San Francisco.
What a long and wasteful road it has been. Governor Gavin Newsom now doing a 180, surprise, issuing an executive order for removal of homeless encampments in the state of California.
I don't think there's anything more urgent and more frustrating than addressing.
I can't stand this guy, bro. He's constantly, him and, Aunt Nancy are constantly using these big hand gestures. Like when he's really lying, you could tell how uncomfortable he is and doing these hand motions. And I guess some people still believe this.
To the issue of encampments in the state of California. Today I announced an executive order to move the process forward. We're done. It's time to move with urgency at the local level to clean up these sites, to focus on public health and focus on public safety. There are no longer any excuses. $1 billion this state has invested to support communities to clean up these encampments.
No longer any excuse.
Yeah, that obviously he shouldn't have let it fester this long. But he wants to put, these measures or whatever that passed by razor thin margins, apparently, wants to put some of that money to use. But it's all too little too late. And you have literally destroyed one of the most beautiful states in the entire country.
Excuses. He's had the power all along, 100 days before an election. What do you know? Not a peep today, though, from the liberal media condemning him for his inhumanity. So how did we get here? Well, it's been a long road lined with billions of wasted taxpayer dollars on woke liberal initiatives. Remember this from the governor's inauguration?
We're committed to launching a Marshall Plan for affordable housing, and we'll lift up the fight against homelessness from a local matter to a statewide mission.
Wow. In 2020, he started out with a coy $750 million plan. This was on top of the more than $1 billion that the state is still doling out. In the same year, he asked for another $1.4 billion. That's with a B. The reason? The crisis was growing. I'm sure that fixed it, right? Wrong. The following year, it became a $12 billion ask. But I'm sure that worked because $12 billion is a lot of taxpayer cash.
And he has to do that on top of earmarking a whole bunch of money for reparations.
Next year, it was another $4 billion for affordable housing. And the next year, it was another $1 billion. Woo! Last year, he even spent another $30 million. It sounds so little on 1,200 tiny homes for California's homeless, saying, we need to focus more energy and precision on addressing encampments. Can you believe encampments? It's California. There's no humanity there. People are dying on our watch. People are dying. A common excuse for any liberal initiative. How can you argue against saving?
That's facts. It's life and death with every single thing. If you use a plastic bag, if you use a plastic straw, if you drive a truck, if you don't get the vax, if you don't wear a mask, if you don't let your kid cut his junk off, it's going to be life and death every single time.
People's lives. I wonder why they were dying in the first place. All that wasted time and money. As a reminder, to support these failed programs, California's highest income tax rate is 13.3%. That is in addition to the top federal tax rate of 37%. California also has a state sales tax rate of 7.25%. All of you who live there, you know what this is. And many localities impose a smaller sales tax. So if a wealthy person earns and spends labor income in the state of California, the tax rate could, at the margin, could approach 60%. Boy, what a success. Then there's the corporate state income tax rate of 8.84%, some of which is passed along to consumers through higher prices.
And where's that money going? Because Governor Scumbag Greaseball Bang Your Wife Gavin Newsom couldn't tell you where the $24 billion went because, it was probably some rain bombs or atmospheric rivers.
What we didn't anticipate is these rain bombs in December, January, February, and March, these atmospheric rivers.
And we just, we didn't have access to our tax funds.
Increases the tax burden even more. And companies have been leaving the state, as you probably have heard watching Fox Business, the state by droves. Tesla is just the latest. It is. Look at
Oracle, first one that used to have their name right on the side of the Coliseum where the Warriors used to play in Oakland. Gone.
This Align, Oracle, XO, Chevron. There's the Tesla. That's the United area. Pabst Blue Ribbon. That's a good beer. Charles Schwab. I mean, come on. This tale is another reminder that money obviously doesn't fix everything. It fixes many things, but you have to know how to use it, don't you? Yeah. What Newsom is doing.
Oh, Newsom knows how to use it. He just chooses not to, or he chooses to use it to his own advantage. Meanwhile, all of the encampments under the highways are going to completely fester. And on top of that, there's a story about how some of the overpasses in the Bay Area, maybe even all of California, but a whole bunch of the overpasses were deemed unsafe. But he doesn't care about that either.
Doing now, he could have just done in 2008 and saved his citizens and his state a lot of money. Joining me now, Republican Congressman Ben Cline from the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, this is what liberals do. It's like monopoly money. It's like throwing money at things. It's going to save it. But we have a history of humanity where that doesn't work, where you've got to have good ideas. You've got to be spending the money properly. I don't mind taxes and spending money. But my goodness, as we've seen, the government just uses it like water.
Liberals have run California into the ground. They've run up record debt and deficits for this country, totaling $34 trillion.
I'm not quite sure why they have a guy from Virginia discussing California, but whatever.
And every year, we're now running $1 trillion deficit, adding to that debt. It's impounding on our children and grandchildren. It's going to make their quality of life worse. We're all going to be living in California across this country if things keep going the way they're going.
You know, that brings up this.
And there they have a picture of the Linkage Center, which I believe is now closed. And that was basically a junkie encampment where, shout out, I think his name's Danny Mullen, right? I used to watch his videos all the time. Different story. He went to this center, went to this like rehab facility. It's not a rehab facility. It's like a shoot up center where you can go in there and shoot your dope under the watchful eye of a nurse or something, but he couldn't bring a 12-pack of beer.
Just right here, huh? Right in the heart of the city. Let's take a peep over the top. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Nico. What's up, guys? Hey, we're trying to go inside and get f***ed up. We brought booze.
Fucked up on another day.
There's no drinking in here. You can drink in there.
No, you cannot.
You can shoot smack in there. I want to drink my alcohol.
You cannot drink inside here, okay? At all.
But you can do crack.
I can do crack, but I can't drink.
But you can do fentanyl.
I'm trying to shoot up. What goes on in there?
I think you have a pretty good idea of what goes on in there.
So, hey, we just want to join them.
We just want to party. What's the cover, dude?
Point. It's his timing is fascinating, isn't it? Right? Get California, make it a dumpster fire 100 days before an election, where maybe the Democrat might win, anything's possible. And then I'm sure he imagines himself, trying to do that to make the rest of the country like California. Do you think that's part of the reasoning behind his action here?
It's actually calling more attention to this issue, right? Because everybody knows how terrible California is. So 100 days before the election, he pretends he's going to clean it all up, which makes it quite obvious that it was disgusting before. But anything to help calm a toe and maybe get himself a position in the cabinet.
Well, Gavin Newsom is always trying to maneuver himself into position to run for president. Now, if you want to actually think that if Kamala loses, can Gavin be positioned to run against not Donald Trump, but J.D. Vance in 4 years? Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's trying to tank California to the point where the voters reject Kamala across the country, and he's ready to step in and save the day as the great liberal savior.
Well, they never get fired, right? They just all want promotions, right? You're going to set the house on fire and then get promoted to mayor because you set everything on fire. It's a remarkable time, isn't it, Congressman? Thank you very much for joining us as we keep trying to make sense.
Yeah, it's absolutely despicable. And what he's going to, or what I think he's trying to do is, this is par for the course. It's not groundbreaking stuff, but create the problem, then sell you the solution, fail even further up the ladder.